Welcome to the Vibrantly You podcast. We're your hosts, Megan Martineau
and Caitlin Cipriano. In this podcast, we talk about fitness and nutrition on your motherhood journey. Whether you are trying to conceive, pregnant, postpartum, or beyond, you are welcome here.
Nothing is off limits, and our goal is to support you in this important season of life so that you can feel vibrantly you. As a reminder, this information is not medical advice. Please see the show notes for more details. Welcome back to the Vibrantly You podcast. This is Megan, and I am here to do a solo episode. To be completely honest, it is Tuesday night. It is almost 10 o'clock p.m., and this episode is going to air Wednesday, literally, within a couple of hours from now. And I just realized, oh crap, we don't have a podcast ready to go for tomorrow. We have never missed a Wednesday podcast release since we started. So today I'm just going to talk to you about my journey, how I got here, how I became a personal trainer, pre and postnatal fitness specialist, now a birth doula, and why I do this work. I actually think this is a really great thing to do a podcast episode on, and Caitlin is going to do one as well, just to learn more about her journey. But especially if you've been here and you've been listening to us in the last year and a half that we've had this podcast, you might not actually know how we got here. And I think we talk about this a little bit in like our very first intro episode, but when we're recording these separately, it gives us just a little more opportunity to like deep dive into why we do this work and how we got here. So let's dive in. Okay, so we are going all the way back to 2019. This is when I first became a personal trainer. So I loved moving my body. I'm not going to say I love working out or I loved exercise necessarily, but from the time I was a small child, I was always involved in activities that were movement based. So I danced a lot as a child. I started gymnastics when I was 5 years old. That one didn't really stick, but I did dance. So I did jazz and tap. I actually did tap dance much longer than jazz. So fun fact there. That was a really fun period of my life. And I also played basketball. I played basketball from 4th grade all the way through high school and just lived a pretty active life. My parents were always pretty active, and that was just like part of what we did. We were outside playing all the time. We would, go on hikes and adventures, what that looks like for a little kid, of course. But, we were just always outside doing things, moving our bodies. And so that was just something that always intuitively felt good for me. So it was really just part of my life, honestly. And as I got older, when I went off to college, it was hard to not be involved in something that was structured, right? Because when I was younger, I had like structured dance classes I was going to, or I had basketball practice, games, things that were very, I don't want to say rigid, right? But like things that were planned out that I just had to like go do them. Then you get to college. I mean, your whole life is now like unplanned, right? Like you don't have someone telling you what to do. It's just kind of like, okay, you got to show up and do the thing and force yourself to do it. So that's already like a big learning curve, I feel like, to be like, okay, I'm the adult now. Like I'm making decisions. Okay, here we go. But when that translated into my fitness routine, exercise routine, I really was lost, honestly. I didn't know what to do. I didn't really know my way around the gym. I was like that person that would, with my roommate, we'd go walk the track and be like, okay, let's come over here, this little section, and do some crunches and planks. Like we just didn't really know what to do. We were intimidated by the weight room. And I do remember like trying out some group fitness classes that they offered at my school, but really just like did not know what to do. When I graduated college, I actually found an online fitness community, and it would be so cool if you have heard of this and you were a part of this, but it was called Tone It Up. And this was Karina and Katrina. They were doing exercises on the beach. My sister actually introduced me to them. She found their videos on Pinterest, I think, and they had a bunch of videos on YouTube, and we started doing those. And back then, like they were so small. It was, again, just their videos on YouTube. They had an Instagram account. This was like back in the early days of Instagram too. We're talking like early 2010s. And they would have you, or they like encourage people to create a separate fitness Instagram and to post your workout check-ins for accountability and build community. And I was obsessed, my sister and I, obsessed. We were like fully immersed in this tone it up community, tone it up world. And this helped me fall back in love with movement, with exercise. I had more of a plan to follow. I had this whole community of other people who were doing it. It was something I was doing with my sister, which was really fun because I was in Vermont, she was off in college in Boston. So it was something that we could continue to bond over and do together. And it just taught me a lot too about what kind of exercise and movement I enjoyed. I really started to gain muscle when I was doing this and just learning like, wow, like when I'm building this strength, it's also building my confidence, right? Like my physical strength is carrying over into my like mental health world, and I just thought that that was like the coolest thing ever. And so that was really what like got me into exercise, and I was like it would be so cool if I was a personal trainer, right? Like I didn't know what that would look like or what I would even do with it, but that was like when that first seed was planted. And so this was again when I started this was like around 2013. So I didn't become a personal trainer till 2019, so it was a lot of like me just trying different programs, doing different things, learning my way around the gym all the way up until that point. And then I was like, I'm gonna become a personal trainer. I was taking a lot of group fitness classes that I really liked. So I was like, oh, I'll become a trainer and then I can teach group fitness classes. You know, that seemed like a logical next step to me. And then COVID happened and everything shut down, everything went online. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to do this online, right? And then I was pregnant and I was navigating a pregnancy after loss during a pandemic, like total chaos, crashing out daily in my OB office, crying from anxiety. And I did not work out that pregnancy. I know I've shared that on here too, but I was so scared that I was going to lose this baby. I was so scared that I was going to get this mysterious illness that was going to kill my baby, right? So there was just like a lot of panic. And I was like, I'm not doing anything to compromise this pregnancy. So I really just didn't do much of anything. It was a lot of like walking, maybe a little bit of prenatal yoga. In a traditional personal training certification, they do not teach you anything about how to work with pregnant and postpartum populations. And so I want you to just file that away in the back of your brain when you are looking for a personal trainer for advice if you are pregnant or postpartum. Know that that does not come with the regular personal training education. So people do need to seek out additional education, additional certifications that are specific to pregnancy and postpartum. So I do want you to remember that. But anyhow, I have my baby. He's a C-section, he's breech, and the recovery completely blows me away. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Right? Like, this is so hard. Like, I feel so broken. I'm so disconnected from my body. I just felt so lost. And I remember trying my first workout when I got cleared at 6 weeks postpartum. It was supposed to be like a postpartum friendly workout. And it was really just like a lot of modifications. And I was like, that was terrible. Like, this cannot be my life moving forward. I have never felt more weak. Again, disconnected. My body felt so foreign to me. Like, I don't know quite how to explain it. It didn't feel like it was me exercising. It like felt like I was in someone else's body trying to do something. Like, it was just the most bizarre experience. Like, I had no mind-body connection. And it was, as someone who had been, again, moving regularly throughout my entire life, like that was my normal. I had been doing exercise and fitness for over 10 years at that point, and I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And that was such a hit to my confidence too, right? After years and years of building it up. And I had remembered, actually, funny connection here. I remembered a girl that I had connected with through the Tone It Up community. Shout out to Christine, who had become a personal trainer as well and had also gotten certified in pre and postnatal fitness. And I reached out to her and I was like, hey, what's the deal with this pre and postnatal fitness stuff? Because I want to do that. And so she sent me the program that she had done, like answered all my questions. She was incredibly helpful. Next day I enrolled. I was like, you know what? If I don't have anyone else to help me, I'm going to help myself, right? Like it was a very selfish motivation to get certified in pre and postnatal fitness. And as I started it, like as I was going through this course and I'm learning things, I'm also applying them to myself in real time because I also think it's really helpful to do the things as you're learning them, right? Applying it as you're learning. And I was like, holy shit, right? This everyone needs to know this information. Like, why are people not shouting this from the rooftops? Again, this is 2020. Like, even on Instagram, like, pelvic floor was not being talked about. Like, pre and postnatal fitness not being talked about. Like, yes, it's in a lot of places now, and I feel like it's more well known. But 6 years ago, no one was talking about it. And I was like, completely mind blown because it was completely changing my life. It was changing how I felt about my body. It was changing my functioning. I was even learning how to engage my abs in a way that I had never learned in my life. And I was like, how is this possible? Like, I've been doing ab stuff wrong my entire life. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do. This is the population I want to work with. These are the people that I want to help because I've been on the other side of that where I was the expecting mom and then the new mom who had no guidance, no help, no education. And I was like, I don't want people to have that experience like I did. You know, the really hard recovery. I was like, if I can help one person, that's worth all of this, right? So in 2021, I started my business, Vibrant Mama Wellness, to work specifically with pregnant and postpartum populations. And that was the start of it all, truly. I have pretty much only worked with people who are pregnant and postpartum, a couple of people who were trying to conceive, so who had not been pregnant yet, but really working on pregnancy prep. I've worked with some menopausal, perimenopausal women. I still consider that in the postpartum realm, but this is exclusively the population that I work with. And it has just been like I can't even put it into words how fulfilling it has been, how grateful I am for my clients, for these expecting moms to invite me into their life and trust me during such a transformational moment in their lives. It is not something that I take for granted. It is something that I really cherish and I really try to handle with care because I know that this is a really big transition. It is such a monumental life shift going from, non-parent to parent and also going through pregnancy and birth in between that it just changes your identity and who you are. And having somebody in your corner that you can trust, that you know is knowledgeable, that you also know is not going to work outside their scope of practice and is not going to impart their own beliefs onto you. I also very, very much value that. I think is, something that is priceless. Like it makes such a huge difference. And I know this to be true based on the feedback that I get from my clients, where they're like, I don't know how I would have done this without you. Like you were such an important part of my journey. And again, this is something that I am so incredibly thankful and grateful for that these moms, again, trust me and bring me into their lives and into their support team. And it's just truly like what I'm meant to do. It is my passion. And so that is what I've been doing for the last almost 6 years now is pre and postnatal personal training. I have gone on to have more certifications. So I'm also certified in pregnancy and postpartum corrective exercise. And I most recently decided to become a birth doula. So for the last 2 years, I have been working with a doula agency. It's actually the doula agency that I was a client of when I was pregnant with my daughter. So I got pregnant with her when my son was 2, and I knew right away that I wanted to have a vaginal birth after cesarean or VBAC. If you're interested in that journey and that story and how I made that decision and what that birth story was like, I will link those episodes down below. There are episodes 27, that's my birth story, and then episode 33, which is 6 things I did to prepare for my VBAC. So, like I said, I will link those down below. But I knew that I was going to hire a doula for this. And my doula, Jenna, was absolutely incredible. I for sure could have not gone through that experience without her. And like being on the receiving end of that kind of support showed me how that kind of care and support, I'm being redundant here with that word, was just life changing, going through that experience to just feel so held, and especially in an environment where you can feel like you don't have a voice or you don't have as much autonomy as maybe you would like, in birth in a hospital, because obviously you're trusting of the doctors and the providers that are there for you. And so sometimes it can feel like you're the dumber one in the room, just having somebody there with you that understands what's happening, but also is there for you and to help you get what you want and help you speak up for yourself. Even if I didn't have to use it, which honestly, I don't feel like I needed to use her for advocacy because I did have such a great team. But just knowing that she was there if I needed her brought so much confidence to me in that environment, in my labor and delivery room, because it was like, okay, if I need to speak up and say something, she's got my back. And I feel like that just made a huge difference. But anyways, so when I had her as my doula, I was kind of like, this could be interesting work too, and really coincides with what I'm doing. And then I started teaching at the doula agency. So I teach a prenatal birth prep class with my friend and colleague Mariah, who is actually my backup doula. We teach that class together, and it's helping moms understand pelvic mechanics and how that relates to birth and birth prep and movement during birth. And we talk about a lot of basics in pregnancy, like 360 breathing and postural stuff, and how to safely strength train and all of that stuff. We cover everything. And as I've been working with the agency and just being on their team calls, and learning more about all of the doula's experiences, I was like, I want to be part of this. So this episode is coming out in March of 26. It was in January of 26 that I was like, all right, we're doing this. And I got trained as a birth doula. And I am still very much a baby doula. I have a couple clients that are due soon here, so maybe I'll have more to say about it in a couple of months. But I just love being able to support moms in this other way too. So being able to support them in pregnancy, preparing for birth, but then also getting to be a birth doula and actually help them in labor and delivery, and then early postpartum, and then continuing into postpartum with the postpartum recovery and exercise piece. Like, it's really just full circle. And again, it is something that I am so passionate about. I am so honored to be part of these moms' stories. And it's just really, really cool to also witness moms come into their own throughout this period of life. I get to watch people go from newly finding out they're pregnant to, celebrating their baby's first birthday and even beyond sometimes. And it's just so cool to watch that mom transform throughout that time period, find herself, find her confidence, learn her strengths, physically get stronger, know that she is so capable. It is just the coolest thing ever, and 100% what I am meant to be doing with my life. So, in the words of Hilary Duff, that's my life. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions for me, want to learn more about, what it's like to become a pre and postnatal trainer or a birth doula, you can always reach out. I'm so happy to chat about that. My Instagram is at Vibrant Mama Wellness. If you are interested in working together, I will also drop some links below. So to work with me in an exercise, birth prep, fitness capacity, that is through Vibrant Mama Wellness. I will drop that link to learn more specifically about what that includes. If you are local to me in the Raleigh, North Carolina area and want to have me on your team as a birth doula, I work with East Raleigh Doula Co. So I will drop that link below as well. And Caitlin and I will be back next week for a joint episode again. We will talk to you soon.